Never heard of the Millennium Falcon? Should I have? It's a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Hi everybody and welcome back to Kessel Run Weekly. My name is Cheyenne and I'm here with you today, but I also have a very special guest today.
Hi, I'm Jensen Avenger. I'm a cosplayer, Instagrammer, I guess an influencer, but I just really like Star Wars.
That's what we're all here for, you know?
Exactly.
That's it. I don't really consider myself an influencer, but the way that I've been aesthetically labeling my page, I'm just like, it's fine. I just like Star Wars.
Page that I'm kind of like, this is kind of influencery, but that's kind of out of my ballpark because I'm here in my own little corner.
Mm-hmm.
I just like this stuff.
Yep.
Just kind of worked out.
Yep. I'm the same way. I'm just like, this is just what I'm enjoying at the time. And it's funny that I think about that now because with having the Kessel Run Weekly platform, Danny, Kristen, and I always talk about all right, well, where can we apply for media badges now?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've already talked about, as cosplayers,
mm-hmm.
could we, get invited to cons? Is that a thing? Am I big enough for that?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I have, the thing where I'm I refuse to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Never happened.
And I don't know that process either because for me, my first goal to get a booth at a convention was going to be a photography booth. Right. But I was trying to even just be can I apprentice with Jeff Jenkins because he's really good or anybody here. Yeah, Brian from Bryland Imagery. They're both very good amongst a ton of other people, but they have set up so I want to just be can I stand with you guys for a day and then figure out if I even want to do this because I love my photography, but I don't know if I'm good enough yet to be out there with them, you know?
You ever need a test subject? I got you.
Okay, yeah, of course.
You.
Yeah, I've gotten a few done so far. Obviously, one got done in the quarantine, but that was it, and it was one other person. So I was like, we'll be fine. I know. I keep saying with
this quarantine, all these photo shoot places must be empty.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just we can't be running around. You know, I had a friend that was are you off? I can come down because he lives in Jacksonville, and I was like, I don't know if you can come down. First of all, I don't know if they're gonna let you do anything, and I don't know if anywhere that I would take photos is gonna be open.
Right.
I don't know. It's definitely interesting. All right. Well, we can be here to chat, but we are also here to talk to Jensen about one of our favorite characters, and I'm sure one of everybody's favorite characters, Leia Organa, or Carrie Fisher. We'll talk about both, I'm sure. They are one and the same. But we'll just go ahead and get started with some questions. Feel free to have as deep an answer or as surface level an answer you want. Yeah, it literally doesn't matter. I mean, if your answer is just yes or no, that's it, you know? You don't have to have an explanation behind it or anything. We're just here to find out what we feel about Leia, you know?
Sounds good.
All right, so my first question is going to be kind of a deep one in general, but what does Leia mean to you?
For me, especially, I grew up on Star Wars. It was always a part of my family, always a part of just kind of what we did. Especially growing up near the parks, we always went to Star Wars weekends, which I miss very dearly.
Mm-hmm.
And when it started, there weren't a ton of female characters in Star Wars to be represented. We had pretty much Leia and Padme
mm-hmm.
at the time. That was really it. And, there's the plus and minuses of the prequels. So the only one that even still was generally loved by all was Leia.
Mm-hmm.
And, during Halloween, she was the only female character that you can get that wasn't a princess.
Right, yeah.
Well, she was a princess, but it wasn't this stereotypical Disney princess that even they're branching out of. But at
mm-hmm.
the time, that was all that existed.
Yeah.
And so for Leia to even just exist and to be the strong, independent, and fierce woman that she is
mm-hmm.
was so revolutionary, and especially in the eyes of someone so young. She's just so incredibly important to that development of
mm-hmm.
self for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I find myself there's always that quote that's what would so and so do?
Yeah.
Mine is always what would Leia do?
Nice.
just because she just had a huge impact on me when I was a kid, and even still today, because she's grown, especially I think with our generation, because, I mean, other generations got to know her first, but we got to, the second we were out of the womb, we knew her.
Right.
Most of us. And then now we've got to see her transition from not only a princess, but to a general, which is even more unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely and utterly agree. That was always my big thing when people are, because I would probably have to say that as far as the females go, Padme is my favorite, but that is because I saw the prequels before I saw the originals. That's how my parents just let it happen. Yeah, I went and saw Phantom Menace in the theaters when I was 4.
Attack of the Clones was my first movie in the theaters.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, okay, like what, I was a 4-year-old. I was like bopping. Darth Maul was actually my favorite. Yeah.
Cool light thing.
Yeah, exactly. Darth Maul still and currently is my favorite, but as far as like women empowerment go, Padme was kind of my introduction to that, and then I learned about Leia. But the older I get and the more that I fall in love with General Leia, the more I find myself like leaning towards, same like what you said with the what would blank do, like I find myself leaning towards, well, what would she have done in this position?
Exactly. Well, and I find that so funny because especially I think right now, strangely enough, I mean, on TikTok and Instagram, most of what I see is Rey. Obviously, that makes sense because she's super relevant. Padme. And, like, there's so many people, like, skipping over Leia. I'm like, how is... No.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah,
like,
she was the introduction.
Like, this really, like... I mean, it was a cute video, but, like, it wasn't anything, like, of, like, mass, like, cinematography or anything. It was just, like, hottest Star Wars women, and it had everybody but Leia, and literally I commented, I said, y'all sleeping on Leia, and it has like thousands of likes.
Yeah, because literally what the heck. She was the intro.
Star Wars women or something like that, and I was like, y'all sleeping on Leia.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, represent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, gotta stand up for these ladies out here.
Exactly.
So this one is more of like a less of an us question and more of a character question. So to some fans, her role in politics was their introduction to Star Wars politics. Like I said, mine was Padme. But we also know she's Padme's daughter, and she was raised by politicians / royalty. Do you think that her interest and her skill level in politics is from where she grew up, her like inherent ability, a combination of both? What do you feel?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big question. Well, because I think it's interesting, because obviously she was raised by politicians, so my, like, go-to would be that, because when you grow up around that, you're obviously going to be interested, and not only interested, but knowledgeable about what's going on. Because, I mean, even in A New Hope, she's already at that, even as a princess, not even going into the military-esque version of it, she's introduced as a princess, but even in Star Wars, I think specifically that's still more of a political role than it is for, like, compared to, like, Princess Cinderella or even, like, Princess Rapunzel, because even still, she's just a princess. Her parents are running everything. But when we literally first meet Leia, we are seeing her in a position of political power. Yeah. Because she has been taken by Darth Vader, and she's talking to Tarkin as a politician, not royalty. Yeah. So it makes me think that it's more coming from her, how she was raised and her parents, just because she was so knowledgeable and she was so kind of ready to jump into that role, and she kind of already did. Like, once we meet her, we don't even know when she jumped in, because by the time we meet her, she's already there. Yeah. And especially, I do definitely think that a lot of her power, like, you see a lot of Padme in Leia. Which is funny because, and that was probably really easy for George Lucas to create, because he made Leia first. Right. So to make Padme, you see a lot of, it's funny because Leia is Padme's daughter, so we think that we see a lot of Padme and Leia, but really what we're seeing is Leia and Padme. Yeah, that's a great point. Right? Isn't that, I've thought about that a lot, and I think it's kind of really strange, because when you think about it, he really actually based the mom off the daughter. Yeah. But same goes, you still do see a lot of Padme and Leia when she is, aggressive negotiations. That is so something Leia would do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like 1,000% something that Leia would say.
Yeah.
So I think that there definitely is kind of that inherent political kind of savvy in Leia just from her mom, but I think that her knowledge and her ability to handle situations came from growing up in that environment. Absolutely,
yeah. And that's, when I was writing that question, I kind of was thinking the same thing. I was like, I mean, she doesn't know her mom, right. Like, it's not that she knows it. And, like, as far as I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong if you've read the books, but I'm pretty sure that I read them a long time ago, but Bloodline and Leia, Princess of Alderaan, both kind of give such a good, like, insight onto where she grew up politically, and, like, she was in the group of youth that, like, studied politics and, like, got to go on these trips and go to visit the Senate floor and all these things. So, like, she wouldn't have had those opportunities without her current family. And I think, like, maybe her instincts inside could have affected it, but I think definitely, like, being in that environment was what kicked it off,
Yeah, I really like what you said about, like, having those opportunities. Yeah, because if she wouldn't have had those opportunities, would she have still ended up in the position that she's in now?
Right, exactly. So one more politics question. I think it's my only other one. How do you think politics helped her become such a successful general?
I think that she has no fear.
Okay, I love that.
I think that she is sure enough in herself to make the right decision. Because that's something that I always think about. I always think about these people that are put in charge of, like, if we're talking about Leia, like, Leia specifically comes up with a lot of plans, especially in the sequels, for how they're going to be successful. And having that dependency and that pressure of if that's going to work, like, is a lot to hold on a person's shoulders. And I think that her having grown up in that political environment gave her the confidence and the self-assuredness that she not only had the ability to do that, but had the right to take control and leadership of those situations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's great. So this is more of a you question. When you cosplay Leia, what do you hope to portray, and what would you use to channel her? It's kind of a two-parter question.
Yeah, when it comes to cosplay, for me, the most important part of cosplaying for me, it's like kind of like my moral law when it comes to cosplaying is the first and foremost thing that you do is you represent. I learned that from my boyfriend because he's a big Spider-Man. He does Han Solo with me. But he has always said, he's like, you're representing. When you put on that suit or that dress or the buns even are sometimes enough, you put those on. And you are taking the responsibility of upholding a character that so many people love so much.
Yeah.
And it's a big responsibility, and I think that that's forgotten in a lot of cosplayers' eyes, is that, especially, I mean, with adults as well as kids, obviously kids are super big for that. I mean, you walk out as Leia, they're going to think that you are Leia.
Right, absolutely.
They don't care about continuity.
No.
They don't care. You are Leia. And that's so important, that idea of representation, because she is so important to so many people, and she's important to me, and I want to make sure that I represent her correctly.
Right.
So that's first and foremost always in my brain. So making sure that I kind of uphold that, what would Leia do? And she's also one of my more difficult cosplays to portray, because she doesn't have just a single kind of stereotypical personality to kind of just zone in on. She doesn't have that.
Right.
Like, when I'm cosplaying Princess Anna from Frozen, it's really easy to go into cute clumsy. It's so easy. But Leia is so much more complex, and she's very hard to portray, which is one of my reasons that she's my favorite to portray, because you really do have to think about her, because while she is a princess and she does kind of have that stature and that of royalty and this political stance, she also is the same one who's going to make fun of Han. She's going to call Chewie a walking carpet. She's going to do things that a normal princess stereotype wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So making sure that I'm staying true to the character is super important to me. And for getting into character, I read Carrie Fisher's books.
Oh, love them.
Because for me, like you said at the beginning, Carrie Fisher and Leia are one and the same.
Yeah.
But kind of, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here.
Go for it.
But, huh?
Go for it.
That badassery
Yep.
that she holds is just like, it's one of like the core emblems of her, and I really try to kind of wrap my brain around that when I'm portraying.
Yeah, those are really good points too, because you started making me think about Kira. Kira was my first cosplay. I maybe have like 5 total. Like I'm working on it. I'm trying to get to the point where I can make my own, at least pieces.
Oh my gosh,
and
you're
so
incredible.
It's a lot.
I'm so untalented. I cannot.
It's rough. My mom is actually sewing my cape for Kira right now because she's an angel. But Kira was my first cosplay, and it was the black dress, and it was Star Wars Celebration. So like it was a lot of different pressures coming in from other places. And she was a new character at the time because it was Celebration Chicago, so it was not that long ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, what do I even do? I was like, how do I do this? Because I'd always like loved cosplay and loved watching cosplay, and I'd only been to cons like as a photographer or as like I volunteered or went and helped my friends with their booths. So like it was all new to me, and when I thought about how to portray Kira, I'm like, she doesn't have a lot going on. You know, like she has a lot going on, but it's all internally.
Exactly.
There's nothing external going on with her. Yeah, it's very much what's in your face, what's in your movements. How she treats people is very, like, casual and kind, but also I'm in charge, but, like, there's not really a way to say that, you know, when you're on a con floor. So I was like, how can I hold myself up that way? So you talking about how you portray Leia gave me a lot to think about, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, I really like to kind of, yeah, I mean, I've said it like a million times, but represent is so important.
Right.
And especially when it comes to cons and things, because other people can be critical.
Right.
But remembering that it's between, for me, like a lot of people will be like, I cosplay for kids, I cosplay for, you know, whatever it is that they're doing. But for me, like cosplay is something that I do for myself, truly. And it's remembering that it's the relationship between me and that character, specifically with Leia. It's even more so because she does mean so much to me. It's about me and Leia, not me, Leia, and then all these other people. It's about me and Leia.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you think things would have gone differently if Leia had been the main Force user?
It would have been done a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Probably. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she would have had that stuff together, like, one movie, we're done, which would have been sad because Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, like, at the same time, I'm really glad she wasn't. But I think that it's really interesting because we do have this, I mean, they kind of did it as a reveal, but it wasn't really a reveal if you really think about it, that she's so Force sensitive. But now we have this opportunity to kind of dive into that more. And I think once we have more information about kind of how she was as a Force user, I think, you know, her lightsaber color gives us a lot, and definitely her relationship with the Force is pretty obvious because she doesn't really use it.
Right.
So, you know, I think all that is really helpful, but I hope that we get the chance to kind of delve into that and her relationship with the Force, and I think that'll give us a better idea of what it would have looked like if she would have been the main Force user.
Yeah. I would personally, I think I'd like to see, and I don't read the comics very often, so this is just very random for me to feel, but like, I think a comic about her training would be really cool, just because like the frames of those would be amazing, you know?
Right. Well, I picture that scene from Rise of Skywalker with her and Luke training, and yeah, that would be gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think she would have said to Poe when he asked her how they've succeeded before? So he's sitting at the foot of her bed. Unfortunately, she's gone at this point. If she had been alive, or if she'd been able to talk to him, what do you think she would have said to him? I know Lando kind of gave us a little bit, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and it's kind of what most of her kind of dialogue has been about since the beginning, and I think it really hit in Rogue One at the very end, but she really talks about hope consistently. I think that she is very much about, if you believe in what you are doing and you are going to give it your all and you have that faith and that hope and you keep that by you, it's going to be successful, because I do think that that's a lot of what the original is based on, because when you do look back, they shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that's always stuck with me, is the Rebel Alliance never should have won the war.
Yeah.
They did have that hope, and they did have that we're doing the right thing. And I think that that's what got them through it. So I think that she would say something to Poe about keeping that hope alive, igniting that spark and keep that hope alive.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because for me, when I thought about that, I was like, oh man, like she could go so many routes just because of how she's dealt with so many things,
Yeah, well, she's going to say something super sarcastic.
Yeah.
Oh, great. That's helpful.
Yeah, really, exactly. She's going to be like, all right, like, get it together. To me, her, like, sarcastic responses are like a pop on the back of the head. Like,
exactly.
Hello.
It's wake up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just, it's amazing to think about just her as a character in general, but also to know how, and obviously we had our main three in the sequel trilogy, but, like, to know how she lives on through all of it. Like, even after she passes on, and Lando was there to give him an answer, or a response to his question, like, he absolutely is, like, saying something that Leia would say in a more heartfelt way, because he doesn't know Poe that well, he's trying to be nice.
Right.
So, but yeah, I love the thoughts of that, which is that question, when I wrote it, kind of gave me chills. I was like, oh, God. Yeah. Makes me emotional.
Question. And yeah, it gets you thinking about her legacy.
Yeah, a lot.
Wars.
So I have two more kind of deeper questions and then two more fun questions. So what have you learned from the character of Leia?
Oh my gosh, everything. For me especially, self-assurance. Because she is so assured of herself, and not only who she is, but what she's doing. Like, she definitely sticks by how she feels and what she's doing. She doesn't change her mind a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about, probably self-assurance, confidence. Definitely, she comes from a universe of men.
Yeah.
And is still able to hold her own. So having that strength, that confidence, and that self-assurance to hold your own, obviously with everybody, but especially with that added challenge of her coming from a universe of men.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then this is kind of a fun one, but if they were to make a younger Leia TV show, what would you want to see, or would you even want that? Would you want them to make something of the books that we have,
Well, because, like, we have the books, I don't think, I definitely want more Leia.
Of course,
that's
right.
Very important to me, because I think there is so much that we don't know. And let's be real here. Only so many people read the books.
Yeah.
And reading isn't for everybody. I know, especially as a comic book fan, lots of people don't read comics because it's just not for them. But I think that actually her story would be really well portrayed. Like, even, like, just that little bit of time, maybe right before getting captured by Darth Vader and Tarkin in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Or, like, kind of in between Rogue One and that. Or maybe what she was doing during the entire time of Rogue One. Something like that could be done in a movie very much like Solo. Where it's a one-off rather than anything. But now we do have this added bonus of having this Disney Plus, where even a TV show doesn't have to continue for 7 seasons. It can be a 8-episode special.
Yeah.
That gives you more time than a movie, but doesn't necessarily need to be 7 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't think that she has 7 seasons of story.
Yeah, I don't think, not left.
Yeah, not much left, especially not with gaps.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, you can kind of do before Rogue One, during Rogue One, but then you have A New Hope. So we know what was happening to her in A New Hope, and we pretty much know what was happening to her through that. I think what would also be really interesting is between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
In any medium of entertainment. That would be a really, really cool.
I'm not gonna lie, I just recently watched Resistance because I was like, it's 2 seasons, just like, do it, it's fine. It was really cute and fun. I really liked it, like, way more than I thought I would. And I was surprised that there wasn't as much Leia in that. And I was like, I get it because we're focusing on a different part of it, you know. We do get to see them so often, and the kids aren't going to care about that, you know. They have no relationship with her yet, but they know because of her role in that, they know that she's like an ominous leader at this point. Like, they're just like, who is she? But it's interesting to know that, like, well, we know she was a general at that point and she was there, but, like, what else was she doing? What other missions was she on?
How did she get there?
Yeah. It was.
That's my big question. I'm like, how did she get from this to this?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen? How did we get from Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Like, I even think that way about the First Order. Where did that come from? I want to know where, you know, where the Resistance started. Was she in it from the beginning? Was that like something she found out about and enjoyed? Like, how?
Yeah. Have you read Bloodline?
No, I haven't.
So it all came running back to me last night. I was watching my friends on their Instagram Live, and they were talking about that kind of features of the story. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Bloodline helped establish how the First Order started. And it did. They confirmed that for me. Not in detail, but, like, good enough, you know? To kind of at least tell that it didn't just, like, pop up out of nowhere. It
didn't just show up. It was the Big Bang, boom, it existed.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember how much information it gave about the Resistance formation.
Right.
But it definitely gave some insight on the First Order, which was cool for me. So if you feel like picking up a Bloodline,
take a time.
yeah, it's a good one. It's a quick read. I got through it really fast.
Okay, cool.
All right, so some fun ones. What is your favorite Leia outfit?
So, okay, this is a big question.
Okay.
Because whenever I talk about Leia outfits, I always take out the iconic ones. That's not fair.
Right.
White dress buns, not fair. Because that's her most recognizable, so that's automatically what I go to. So I actually have 2. It's Endor. I always call it her Rebel Alliance Endor because it's like not when she's with the Ewoks, it's when she's actually fighting with the Rebel Alliance. That one, and her bounty hunter disguise when she goes to rescue Han from Jabba.
That's
I
awesome.
love that one. I actually have a Coach bag with that on it. My mom got it. She was like, "Do you see what's on it? Do you see what's on it?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I turned it around, and it was like actually her and her bounty hunter. She's like, it's your favorite. You listen to me.
Yeah, really.
I was so happy.
I did the same thing. I sent my mom the link for all the Coach bags, and I was like, "You don't buy me one. I just wanted you to see them. They're so cute." Right. And then she bought me the big white one with the Star Wars font on it, and I was like,
yeah. Like, my mom found them at some outlet mall around Christmas for 75% off. Yeah, it was insane. Like, this is the only reason you got this. I'm like, no, I don't blame you.
Yeah. I mean, they're $300 bags. You know, like, good lord.
Yeah. I'm mad if you would have bought it at full price.
Yeah, really. And that's the thing. That's why I was like, please don't buy this. Like, there are so many other things I could use for this. I could go buy cosplay pieces for this. Right. But she got it on sale too. I think my mom got it on Black Friday or something.
Nice.
Do you follow Giuliana? I think her handle's Juju Kitty, on Instagram. She's finishing her. I don't know how you say it, but I say it Bausch. She's finishing the Bounty Hunter for Leia, and I don't know if she's gonna bring it to Celebration. I don't even know if she's going. I haven't talked to her about it, but she'll post in her story every now and then of her doing some cosplay stuff or sewing stuff.
Dream cosplay.
Yeah, it's
whenever they ask me, they're like, "What is a cosplay that you want to do but will never do?" I'm like, "No, I guess I can't make it."
Oh my god, it's insane. And I feel like the hardest part for any of these things is the 3D printed or the foam formed pieces, I don't know who she commissioned for her helmet, but it's amazing. It's so good. So it's definitely interesting, but that's cool. I mean, I also love both of those costumes. They're really good. I feel like when I think about her costumes, I really love all of her General Leia stuff. And maybe that's like the inner older woman in me that's like, I just want to like be in charge and in fashion, you know?
Exactly. She looks so good.
Yeah, all the time.
They could have put her in something like really not good, but they didn't. Like, she still looks fly.
Yeah, man. Yeah. My mom, I keep telling my mom she should cosplay Leia and I'll cosplay Padme at some point, because then it's like roles reversed. But I want her to get like the blue dress with the spikes in the center. It's so cute and pretty and like, you know. All right, favorite. I think this is gonna be my last question. What is your favorite Leia quote? And then I guess 2-part question. What is your favorite Leia moment? I kind of put them together in case they were the same, you know.
Right.
But they don't have to be.
Well, it's really hard not to pick like a really like deep one. You know, like hope isn't lost today, it's found, or something.
Yeah. Emotional.
Which, you know, will break your heart.
Yeah.
You shatter into pieces. Which is one of my favorites, but honestly, anything she says to Poe.
Yeah.
Anything she says to Poe and Han, because I do feel like those relationships are very similar. But my favorite is Scruffy looking Nerf herder.
Yeah, that's.
And I could be biased because again, my boyfriend cosplays Han. So for us, that's a really big one.
No, of course.
And then like my favorite moments again are like anything really Han and Leia. I love that entire scene where they're in the like Hoth, those corridors in the beginning of Empire, where they're just going at each other. Yeah. Without like skipping a beat. Like they do not skip a beat, and they're just going at each other. Yep. And it's so funny because you can just. It's like her moments of weakness. Yeah. It gives in, and he's the only one who can make her do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, and then like I've listed like 4, but
no,
like
it doesn't matter. Keep going.
All of mine are Han and Leia, but especially like the "I love you, I know," but not the first one, the second one where she says "I know" and she's sitting there with the gun on Endor, and he's
like, okay, all right, yeah. Yeah.
Where she just owns it, and I love it.
Yeah.
She really flips it back on him. Power back. I'm like, that's my girl!
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Nobody can say who wears the pants in that relationship, because they both do. Well, I think that's it. As far as my Leia questions go, is there anything else you want to mention for the people? How you feel about her, or anything in general? You don't have to.
Yeah, again, I just think that she's so iconic. And, I mean, she's iconic in a lot of ways. I mean, her appearance is iconic, and her lines are iconic, but just really stepping into that female in a sci-fi role, so, she was one of the first. Yeah. She was literally one of the first women in that role to really embrace it. Something I love about like Carrie in general is that she always embraced it. Yeah. You know, you listen to even Harrison Ford sometimes, and he's like, I don't want to talk about Star Wars. I'm like, how do you not want to talk about Star Wars? Yeah. It's Star Wars. Yeah. And you know, you just look back, and she never had that mentality. She was constantly all about it. Yeah. And that was so refreshing. And you look at kind of her story. There's this there's a documentary on Disney Plus, and it's like 3 hours long, and it's like Empire of Dreams.
Oh yes, I have watched
literally,
that.
It follows George Lucas through college, through all of Return of the Jedi, and you just kind of like, and he talks about like the hiring process of all of them, and it was just, and she talks about like not thinking she would ever get it, and I'm like, how could they not pick you? Yeah. Yeah. Like, you look at Carrie, and it's just, her face is Leia. And being able to still pass that on through her daughter, and still have such an iconic and important character, even past passing, and her monumental effect on the world. Yeah. It just, I mean, all of it encompasses Leia. Yeah. Yeah. And because, you know, they are two separate people. They are, again, one and the same.
Yeah, and I think it's so nice that Billy also embraces that. because not only is she, helping portray her mother, but continuing to stay in the Star Wars franchise, continuing to never back down from anything. Like, following her on social media is just, like, such a reality check for me, because I'm like, she just doesn't, not that she doesn't care, but she doesn't care in the best way, you know? Like, she's just like her mom in that manner, and I'm sure that there's a million reasons why, but, like, I love seeing that, and I think it's just, like, a very selfish comfort of that, you know? Like, it's very selfish to be like, oh, God, like, she's just like her mom, and we love her mom. But, because my first introduction to Billy outside of Star Wars was American Horror Story. So, like, two very different vibes, you know? And I was just, like, here for it, because it's definitely something Carrie would also do, you know? So.
Right, absolutely. And I think that Billy, in general, I'm not even sure a lot of us would have not only the strength, but kind of the discipline that she has to be able to not only take on her mom, but to be able to stand on her own, even though her mom was so iconic.
Yeah.
I don't want to say in comparison, but to have almost your legacy kind of now be taken on by your family member, not only your family member, but your mom.
Yeah.
It can be difficult, and I think that she handles it with such grace.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if any of us would be able to do it as well as she is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. It absolutely does. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for such a good conversation about Leia. This is amazing. I'm so glad I was able to reach out. Real quick, we'll just close out the show. So I'm going to tell everybody where they can find me personally. You can find me on Instagram at cjerica or on Twitter at cjerica95. I try to be funny on Twitter. It usually doesn't land, but it's great. Yeah, it's real fun. And then you can go to my blog at cheyennehoover.wordpress.com. Hopefully I'll have a Star Wars Sunday coming up soon. I'm going to hope by the first Sunday of April. But I have lots of other articles on there, so feel free to go read that. Jensen, where can they find you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram and TikTok as Jensen Avenger. And pretty much anywhere, Jensen Avenger. It's everywhere.
Google it. Yeah. Awesome. And then the main channel, you can find us at Kessel Run Weekly on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the above. You can visit kesselrunweekly.com. All of our podcast episodes are there. We do have a few blog posts and a few book reviews. But we are mostly active on Instagram. We're going to be doing a few lives throughout the month, just kind of hanging out. But I hope everybody is making it through this quarantine. By the time this episode comes out, hopefully we'll be out of quarantine. That would be fabulous.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that would be great. But if not, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you again, Jensen, for being here, and may the Force be with you.
Always.